think this is going to be a pretty cool hack because it has the whole roadmap. It has all the context it needs. Set the whole initial structure and expectations and build up the foundation as far as what to work on next. Just having Cursor agent use its best judgment as a professional senior developer to tell us what the next thing would be by referencing the Scratchpad. And then every once in a while doing a progress report so that we can use a new context window and not bog it down, which is going to help us stay organized and stay on the right path without fracturing things. All right, we're back at it again. I'm going to go through the cursor, devin.cursorrules process again, but this time I'm going to actually rebuild the app that I was working on because I came across a lot of errors. It was adding complexity that didn't need to be there. So I've noticed that AI likes to show off what it can do, and so you have to kind of, tell it to chill. So I have completely beefed up my process for this project. If you didn't see the last video, I'm basically working on an app that will allow you to basically be able to take images, video, audio, links, and you'll be able to scan as well as importing files like PDFs and Word. That's the most recent one. You basically take all those inputs and output summaries. And then I've also decided that for the best type of output, because it's going to be customized based on what you're uploading, you're going to want to have context fields basically. So you'll upload your file, and then there will be a few different text fields that allow you to add layers of context on how you want your output to look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my build folder and just delete this. So we're going to start fresh. So here's the repo, devin.cursorrules. I'll put this in this the link in this description as well. So this, as a recap, is basically taking what makes Devin, which is the AI agent that's probably most capable at doing the most right now, up there with Operator. It takes the best parts of that and lets you implement it in Cursor. So I've already installed Cookie Cutter and stuff like that, but I'm just going to go through this process again. Here's the tutorial, but I've distilled the tutorial into the most simple possible process. So here we go. Now that I know what I'm doing and I've got a video out of the way and then install. Okay, I just need to add this. We're going to go to Cursor. Learnia was the original. I'm on Learnia is the original name for this project. So Command I is going to open a Composer window, and we're going to go Agent Claude 3.5. You can't use DeepSeek R1, so we're going to use Cursor. There we go. I've got all that in here. We got our Scratchpad. We go to Settings. I know YOLO mode is on, but I'm going to go to Features. Oh, code-based indexing. We probably want it to do that. So I'm going to organize my thoughts while that's working. What this thing looks like, by the way, this is how far we got, and then I kept running into errors, and I learned a few things about just kind of what got me the better results when I was going through errors in Xcode whenever I was trying to refresh and build and be able to to see everything on the screen. This is what I got. So basically, and it needs to be dark mode. It started off in light mode, and I'm like, I know that UI is one of the last things that you have to work on. At least that's a good practice as far as I know. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So this is what the layout's kind of going to look like. So you're going to have cards that'll take you to each of the individual options, and then these are going to change a little bit, but that's just kind of the gist of what I'm going for with this theme. And so what I did is I actually had V0, instead of just putting pictures like this in of a website, an XJS website, and trying to have cursor kind of pick it apart and figure out how to format everything, I actually had V0 tell me how would you describe the UI. And so I had it create a few paragraphs, and I went through with a fine-tooth comb, made sure that it was going to translate. Because so in Next.js on V0, I was using Tailwind CSS. That's not what is available when you're building an iPhone app. So how to convert it to something usable. So basically the way I have this split up is I'm just going to give an intro, because you want to give context like this to LLMs and just AI in general in pieces, so that they can focus on quality over quantity on that piece. Bird's eye view is good for general context, but I don't want to bog it down. So I got the intro here that's going to be, I'm basically saying there are going to be a few of these sections. I'm going to give them to you one by one, and I will let you know when we're ready to start taking action. So the core principles that this section is brand new, because it's just stuff that I've learned needs to be a constant the whole time that we're working on it. So simplicity is key. You know, LLMs and just AI in general likes to add a lot of complexity because it can, or I don't know exactly why it does it, but it shows off by just kind of adding all these features and stuff that just make it more complex, and that's not what we need. I also reiterated a few points throughout this whole thing, like photo is uploaded only. They are not taking a photo with the app. Video is upload only. They are not taking video with the app. Scan and file are the only two that will allow the user to use a camera. We're also not storing stuff on this app to just kind of keep things lightweight. And the animation between pages is that's like last priority, because the functionality and speed is really what I'm going for. It needs to be an app that is very easy to use, and you can quickly use it when you have your creative juices flowing and you want to soak in information from these various sources. 100%. Okay. So let's get out of here. And so we got cursor rules in there. So let's introduce the project. And I've been working on cursor so much over the past few days that I'm already down to like slow requests, which I think I have to pay for more tokens or something like that if I want it to be speedy, but it's like still speedy. So, okay, so I've organized the initial requirements, blah, blah, blah. Key aspects: the app will handle multiple types of media inputs. So it was GPT 4.0 for intelligent summarization. Now, I did specify that that's exactly how it's written. I heard that you have to be very specific about 4.0 so that it knows that that's not a typo. Strong focus on output flexibility and sharing options. User feedback will be crucial. Okay, accept. And I have YOLO mode on, which is just going to let it do a bunch of work without asking for permission quite as often. So I'm just reminding it that there's going to be more so that it doesn't start working on stuff. Let me know if you have questions about the UI, or if you're ready, I can just give you the layout info. So the Scratchpad is cool because it's kind of like memory and plan and details that it can reference, checklists that it can kind of show our progress in. So really cool concept. MVP first. Yes, we want to get it working before we get it like too heavy as far as features and stuff like that. Okay. Please proceed with the next section when you're ready. We don't want to actually have it ask questions yet, so let me know when you're ready for me to give you the layout info. Perfect. Adding it to the scratch pad. When I'm doing stuff like this, I like to just keep a prompt ready flow so that if I need to go back to the drawing board, it's easier. You will have a chance to ask me questions at the end of everything that I put in, which will help us move forward on a solid foundation. Here's the next section. I'm currently using Whisperflow for that functionality, which works really well, but people are pretty concerned with like privacy because it will actually watch your screen to get context on what you're saying so that it can be a little more accurate, which there's not even a toggle to decide whether or not you want to opt into that. But it's winter, my hands are cracking, so it's really nice to be able to just press a button and get it out and not have to sit here and bleed all over my keyboard. Please save your questions for the end so that you can ask all of them at once, and I will provide answers after that. Here is the next section. We are covering features. No, I did not use AI to write all this, by the way. This is something that I actually want to use, so I had plenty to work with. That's the whole rundown. What questions do you have that will help us start off on the right foot? I find that when working on stuff like this, I'm going to get asked questions anyway, but it's good to just get make sure that we're on the same page before we really start building. We'll see if it's good to give it that much info or not, but I don't want to run into errors anymore. I had gotten to like 8 composer windows. Please ask me all your questions. So this part's boring, and you can see how many questions there are. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me answer these, but what I like to do is copy this and just open a new note. Okay. To be continued. Okay, I've answered all the questions. It's a lot of questions. Look at that. Okay, so just answered the follow-up questions. And then what I did is I said, I would like you to help me think of the best way to keep information in the scratch pad or cursor rules that help you have all the context you need if I open a new composer window, because that way, if there's a way for me to be able to not have to get to a stopping point where it can't produce anything new, and then I have to go back and revert a few steps back just to have the space in its capacity to be able to interpret what's needed, it'd be nice to just have that all in here. Give me the key to the kingdom on how to do this error handling properly, so we could just shortcut to to what worked. So this should definitely help. Perfect. Now let's proceed with the first step. So since this is an app that I am going to be using and that I have a drive to actually get it done, I think I'm just going to document the progress, and that way we can see improvements over time. Okay, hold my brain building, take 6. I got to another point in the build where, yes, I was well prepared, but we're building an app, so there's a lot of complexity, and I also don't know the correct order to structure things in, and that led to us improving the UI from the get-go, but then we just kept running into errors because the file structure was off, and this keeps happening to me. So I'll get duplicate files and stuff like that. So the first time when we focused on the actual structure first, this is what it looked like. It's mapped out in a way that's cool, but I want this to be dark mode native, but still have the same functionality. So this is what we came up with last time. Really rad. I'm really pleased with this. So I basically just, when I kept running into issues with like file structure and duplicate files and stuff like this, I just told Cursor to give me an exported breakdown of where we had gotten in the theme building process. So this thing up here is rad. There was all this extra space up here when it had first created these tiles, and I fine-tuned what they look like. And so I was like, what can we put up here? A lot of these things are going to be, give me 3 options that you think would be a good way to fill that space. And so since we have like things that are actionable, to do type things and reminders and context, because we've added a lot of the ability to, when you're uploading your input, you need to be able to add some context so that we know what to export. Also, for ease of use and being quick, because that's important as well. You're doing a lot of this shit on the fly. It needs to have default settings that you can set up in the settings so that whatever your output, if you have consistent output that you want and you don't want to go in and tweak, like this is what I want for the output, then you can just have that predefined in your settings. So this looks perfect. And so I just kept running into errors to the point where I'm like, I would revert to where we got the theme correct and then try to build from there. And it's just like, it was just a mess. So we're going to do this again. So I figure this is probably not going to be the last time I have to start from scratch, but I'm learning stuff every time. So what I'm doing right now is just reinitiating the creating the project with the devon.cursorrules repo. Yes. Hold my brain. Cursor. All right. And it's one of those things where like I have been, like a lot of people are, where it's like I don't want other people to steal my idea. Like I'm sitting here doing it. You got to just do shit, and it's okay to get the thoughts out there. Like if somebody else makes it, cool. They probably aren't going to have all the tweaks that I want to put on it. But also, it's a tool that people should have. So either way, I just love building. Really simplifying these. I'll put this updated simplification of the installation in the description. I wonder if I can just put all those together and just have it do everything at the same time. So I'm making sure that cursor rules is selected within the context of I think even if I start it and it's indexing, it's gonna let it do its thing. Like when I started this video the first time, it took a few minutes. So let's go through some of the changes. I'll just let it do its thing. This time around, we've added files. So we already had photo, video. I wanted 6 tiles, and it makes sense that you would be able to upload like a PDF. So I know I'm trying to do a lot of things all at once. Like I should just start with photo or whatever. People have apps where it's just the YouTube link that you can put in, but I just need a hub for all of it. So I'm just going to keep bashing my head against the wall until it works. So in the past builds of this app, we've ran into issues with the structure of the app. We need to make sure that our structure is perfect from the get-go, and every step of the way we need to assess how the structure of what we are working on at the time needs to be implemented to the rest of the app. We need to do what we can to avoid duplicate files and make sure that files are kept in the right area. I am not a coder, so I need you to give me explicit instructions for each step the whole time we build the app. Please put this as a priority in the cursor rules file so that I can make sure I'm getting the best instructions. You also need to tell me if I am incorrect in my idea of what trajectory or path we should take as a next step, or if the thing that I say I want to work on at the time needs to be done later on. Please let me know. I'm using Whisperflow. It just makes building so much quicker, so I'm using it, but I'm starting to realize that proofreading is still needed. So I just have the way we need access. As I build this, I'm also wondering, because I'm learning how to use N8N, and I'm wondering if there is a way to implement N8N automation flows into an app. If so, I know that Whisper by OpenAI could be a good way to do to do transcription from video using its audio. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be giving the context for error handling. So features and additional context. So basically I have multiple error handling iterations where we had done a bunch of error handling to just add some robustness to the app. And when I realized that we weren't going to be able to continue on that iteration of building the app, I had to output all the error handling, like the cheat sheet basically of what worked, because there was a lot of like test, try again, to the point where I had to open a new composer window and start a new chat and like this is what we're doing. And so I basically just distilled it into each individual section. So it's good when you're building things to keep notes. A lot of times you're going to need to, like if you need to restart or you need to reference or just have answers to questions, it's good to keep those, which I don't think I did this last time. So lesson learned. So I think it'll be cool to kind of, I don't know how many times I'm going to build the app and have it like get to a point where there's so many roadblocks that it just makes more sense to take what I've learned that time and start over. I'm fine doing that. Like, yes, it's frustrating and it takes extra time, but the end result that we're going for is quality over quantity, and sometimes it takes a lot of quantity of iterations trying it again to get there. So yes, I'd like to proceed with creating the directory structure based on the simplified architecture. This sounds like a solid foundational step. We need a strong foundation. Okay, I'm totally fine with not previewing it yet because we need to get everything structured correctly so that we don't run into errors. Whatever's going to help us avoid errors at all costs is the route we want to take. I know that we're going to run into some errors along the way, but the solid foundation is the most important part. So I just want to, I want to make some progress on this, but there's going to be quite a few videos about me building this. Like, I think what I'll do is I'll make a playlist of my builds for the Hold My Brain app so that we can just document the journey. But there's also just so many other things I can do with AI tools. Like, one thing that would be nice is a lot of these people that do bolt.new videos, they don't show the process of building the thing and then putting it up on StackBlitz, which is where you can fine tune, download. Like, there's a lot of features that are good to know that people don't really cover. I also want to do a deep dive on V0, and like in 2-3 days, I've been able to build out like an entire website. I also don't know how it works when you push to Vercel or create repos and commit to them. Like, we did that the last time that we were working on this. But it hasn't mentioned doing that quite yet. I'll probably bring it up just so that that's on its mind. What do you feel would be best to work on next out of the options you just gave me? So what I was doing before is I'm like, each step of the way, let's make sure we beef up, each individual part. So like, when it would be like, do you want to go deeper into this thing? I was saying yes, and I think that probably added too much complexity. So this time around, I'm just like, what would you do next? You're the expert. Do you think it would be a good idea to continue with the other media types so that we can have all those laid out from the beginning? I don't want to add too much complexity to each of these modules. Yay, I'm making good developer decisions. So in previous builds, I've also pulled up Xcode sooner. This time we're setting up more of a foundation. Like, it's a whole nother app to learn. So the less work that I have to do in there while we build the structure in Cursor and have this insanely talented AI developer, you know, we're going to have better output if we do it that way. Do we have all 6 media types taken care of now? I can actually just answer my own question. So photo, video, audio, link, file, scan. Okay, cool. You know what would be a fun video idea is to see if you could give the agent a plan for something to build out and just be like, continue with the next step, continue with the next step, continue with the next step. And that's the only input that you give it, and see if it builds it. Continue with the next step. Please use your professional opinion to determine and execute the next step. We're just going to use that over and over. Because, I mean, if you think about it logically, it's using logic to map everything out. It's got the scratch pad so that it knows what our progress is. It makes sense to do it this way. Because what do I know? I'm not a developer. I think this is going to be a pretty cool hack because it has the whole roadmap. It has all the context it needs. So Devin is Devin. This is being marketed as the Devin of Cursor. So it needs its own name. Give me some names in the comments. We should name it that way. This is going to be a fun concept to test. Like, I'm not going to give it any particular opinion or direction. Like, it knows what I want to do. I'm just going to tell it, yo, you're the developer. You know what to do next. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start logging progress reports, because then I can just use that as a prompt for a new window. Please give me a progress report of where we're at and what we need to do in our next few steps, following the same logical approach and referencing the scratchpad and cursor rules. Keep the whole progress report in one copy-pastable text block where I can just copy the whole thing instead of having multiple artifacts scattered throughout. So I'm going to save this as the next step, and then we're going to get a progress report. I will be using this to start a new composer window. Please make it concise and include reasoning behind why we are doing what we are doing and what the most important things to note are. Please also update the scratchpad and leave anything in there that would be helpful for a new composer window to take in order to take the next steps properly and understand exactly where we're at. Beautiful. So let's take a look at what this is. So we have current status, so then what we'll do is we'll put this at the bottom. So what if I apply to cursor rules? Oh, it's all at the bottom. Cool. Now we're going to start a new composer window because we want to do that preemptively before we get to a point where it's just processing, and it doesn't do anything. I think this is going to be a really good rotation of like how to do things. So, you know, set the whole initial structure and expectations and build up the foundation. And then as far as what to work on next, just having cursor agent use its best judgment as a professional senior developer to tell us what the next thing would be by referencing the scratchpad, and just keep iterating on that, and then every once in a while doing a progress report so that we can use a new context window and not bog it down, which is going to help us stay organized and stay on the right path without like fracturing things. Also, how did I never think of this? To just get his professional opinion. It's such a simple thing, and a lot of times, like, it seems like simple things when you're building are definitely the more potent. Holy shit, we have 910 lines of cursor rules. It's probably not the best thing, but what do I know? A new release is available. I don't know why it always says that a new release is available, because I've upgraded specifically to 25.0.1. Now we can run the command. Might have encountered an error. Let's run the Python directly to see if there are any error messages. Well, we got pretty far without any errors. I would like us to set up a extremely robust framework for debugging that takes in nuance and considers a wide range of debugging ideas. We need to be able to think in many different ways and always be willing to take a step back to look at the bigger picture and understand a better idea of why we are getting the errors we are getting. Can you set something up like that? I'm really starting to like Perplexity a lot. I didn't know what it was or how to use it, but I listened to the Lex Friedman podcast that had, I can't remember who it was, but somebody that's from Perplexity or the creator or something to that effect. And I hadn't used it then, so I'm probably going to watch that episode again to learn even more about it that way. As someone who doesn't know anything about coding, what are some good prompts I can give Cursor Agent in order to set up a very solid foundation of debugging? I would like it to be a powerhouse at solving problems and being able to think outside the box in order to overcome errors when they happen, as opposed to an acute view that doesn't see the bigger picture. I wonder if we can like make it general debugging approach, analyze the entire code base. Can you please take all of those answers and distill it into a prompt I can give Cursor Agent so that it will add the debugging brainstorming section that will allow it to think in many different ways. I want it to reference these ideas whenever it encounters problems. Okay, so we got progress report and we got HMB debug. It'll be interesting to see if how good of a job it does at just beefing up the debugging process. I wonder how much this will strengthen that process, because just the regular agent without this like Devon upgrade, it'll run into errors a lot and just kind of, oh, I see what the issue is. I see what the issue is. And so a good rule of thumb is for when it's debugging, it needs to start off unsure about the problem and then get more and more confident as it reasons. So I think I'll add that to the process as well. So I'd like you to add one more perspective to the debugging process. I've gotten great results from our communication in the past by having you create 3 reasoning paragraphs about the issues that we're having. What I tell you to do at the beginning of these paragraphs is to start off very unsure about how to solve the problem and think through it logically as you go on through the thought process. Towards the end, I tell you to get extremely confident in your answer. This way we make sure that we are thinking about things thoroughly. Oh, shit. Oh, when stuck. So it created a when stuck. God damn, this thing's genius. I'm just going to edit this so that you can use it. I'm going to put it in the... there's going to be a lot of gold in the description of the video, because I want you to have... This is something that I wish that I have in a lot of the videos that I'm learning from, is like, I want to be able to copy and paste a lot of this stuff. I don't have a community right now where I can gatekeep that information, and I know that you got to monetize some stuff, but I do love how much sauce you can give when you find things that work. So for the time being, take it. Okay, so we've got the default next step prompt. We've got our progress report that'll allow us to go into a new composer window and not bog down the process. We got debugging and debug reasoning. And we're going to keep those in the same section. And let's see what's next. So we're going to accept all. The examples include actual Python code snippets that can be adapted and implemented. Each example follows a 3-phase reasoning process: uncertainty, acknowledging the complexity and unknown factors; analysis, using data-driven approaches to understand the problem; and confidence, proposing and validating solutions. See, it's using its thought process now. I don't even have to tell it that now. Thank you, David Ondrej, by the way, for just kind of laying out that being a good reasoning process. Like, that dude just busts out content all the time. And he was the first person I heard of the cursorrules file from, and he had like a structure set up that he was using, but in that same video, it's the one where he talks about, I put 400 hours into Cursor. This is what I've learned. And one of those things was the uncertainty to confidence error handling. So props to him for that. And then props to the other just random dude that had a 5-minute video with this devon.cursorrules, because I didn't use the link that he had to a much smaller repo that I think was his fork or something like that. I did go to the original one, but props to him for putting that in front of me, and props to the YouTube algorithm for that as well. So confidence based on proceed in the following order. Okay, so now he's got the order down for what we're going to be doing for the next few steps. So I'm just going to go back to this. Boom. Accept all. Boom. Man, this makes it so much easier. Like, the less work your brain has to do to get stuff like this done, the better. I feel a lot more confident with the route we're taking this time. And I can't believe, like, just, again, look at the difference here. This is the original layout. Because I know that UI is something that you're typically supposed to take on later on in a build. So I didn't even define what I wanted in the UI early on, as far as I remember. And, like, that just looks so sick. And then with the brain flow, I literally just told it, give me 3 ideas and then tell me what you think is best. And then I'm still going to ultimately choose which one I think is best. But first it showed up, there was like this, like, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like taking up too much space. So I just had to condense it, and this looks perfect. The padding between these two, cards was also a little off. So I had them expand it, and it looks fucking beautiful. Okay. Anyway. I hope we can get back to that look. Okay, so, and you know, when it gives us multiple options, if you're not a coder, you don't know what the next logical step is. So having it repeatedly look at the current state of the project and give you its best answer, you're seeking help from a senior developer level, you know, well, maybe not senior, but at the level that we're at, but you're seeking the best moves determined by somebody that just knows more about this process than you do. So it's a good route to take. Completed, current progress, completed, error handling, implementation, and progress. So that's the next thing that we need to work on. Implement error handling. Perfect. Okay. So we're going to go up here. We're going to copy. We're going to go. Let's do this because we don't want to scroll down over and over and over. So let's do, we need, please start this progress report with the following phrase. Please take a look at this progress report and reference cursor rules to get caught up to speed. It would be cool to be able to use this debugging and error handling framework as just like a template. I wonder if that's possible. It's so cool how this is set up. See where these changes to right here. So checked off debug, view model, error handling implementation. It's updating the current focus. It's checking the box down here too. And then taking this out because it doesn't need to be part of the implementation plan. It's just cool to see how it thinks. The debugging was a good move because we have a holistic overview analysis, scan the entire code base, look at dependencies, bottlenecks, boundaries, architectural decisions, explain issues in plain English because I don't know what I'm doing. 5 whys technique, I don't even know what that is. Document reproduction steps, identify trigger conditions. Oh, I need to run the command. Are we making progress as we push through these errors? I want to make sure that we are using the debugging and brainstorming framework in the cursor rules file to determine the best way to handle all of these. If you need to take a step back, however, please do. Okay, so we are going to take a step back and stabilize the core framework before running performance tests. That sounds like a good move. So if we can get past these issues, I think that'll be a good stopping point. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the UI up and running again, but as far as within what makes sense to have in one video, but there's a lot. We covered a lot. The debugging information, the progress report, the please use your professional opinion to decide what to take and what next step to take. There's a lot of good progress this time. I'm going to have it do a progress report because it's analyzed with reasoning, just kind of the next logical steps, and it's kind of a good place to do the progress report so that we can open a new composer window and not bog it down with too much information. So what I'm going to do is once it generates this progress report, I am going to open a new composer window, give it the prompt, and then save our progress, and that can be kind of what we work on the next video. We did cover a lot. This is going to be pretty long. It's like 4 hours of content. It's probably going to be first video was 15 minutes after editing. We'll see, but I'm going to estimate this is going to be 44 minutes to an hour, maybe longer. 44 just because I like that number. But let's see how it maintains simplicity. Next steps, implement pattern recognition system, save. We're going to call it good. So let's take a look at what I'm going to be including in the YouTube video. So the activating the virtual environment, I don't understand why that part acts weird. We're just going to keep that in there for the time being. And we're going to go okay, so I've got a solid description ready for you to be able to just have easy access to this stuff. So if you found this valuable, definitely subscribe if you want to just kind of watch my progress through building this thing. I'm also going to be doing other stuff like I was talking about earlier as far as building stuff in V0 and bolt.new and other things that come along. I mean, there's something new every week. But yeah, if you found value in it, definitely like and subscribe. I appreciate all of that. And I'll see you on the next video.